And I am going to tell you right away, somebody asked a question already.
Okay.
And you're going to be fascinated to see what it is. So hold on, okay. Somebody is saying, hi there. Do you have any words on how to move forward and make peace with someone passing away and then finding out they weren't honest with you?
Yes, I think you have a choice. If you hang on to the parts of them that weren't honest, you're going to feel horrible. But if you hang on to the parts that are good and that you've enjoyed in the past, you'll feel great. It's a choice, and we have choice to be in the place where we choose to be within our own being. And the person who kind of did you in is not your responsibility anymore. I mean, whatever happened that was not right is something that you experienced and had the trauma of and worked with. And now you, at this point in your life, it's your choice as to what you're going to hang on to, whether it's the pain and suffering that went with the whatever the
Right.
bad thing was, or the actual experiences that you had uh, besides that, because life is full of bad things, but it's also full of joyous, great things. So it's up to us to choose what we're going to hang on to.
Yeah, I could imagine that would be hard to find closure. But I mean, even in a divorce or where
Yeah.
you never see the person again and there was lying, there's still closure that has to be made without the other person. And I think that you're right. That is still possible. Like we can have closure with people that we never speak to again because it's on our terms, not on their terms.
Yes, it took me a long time, really, to get that, to understand the depths of what that is. Because, with my divorce, I felt totally betrayed and all of that. And it wasn't until I could put it into context with the rest of the life that we had together prior to that, when he made a choice. It wasn't my choice, it was his choice. So when he made that choice, I had the opportunity either to hang on to the pain of that uh, act or the process, or to go ahead and live my life. And well, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I was actually so damaged and hurt and so on that when I was coming home from work to my empty house, I was really yelling. I was yelling at the world, and I was yelling at whoever wanted to listen. And I was, I was a mess, and I was just going on and on. In my car, there wasn't anybody there besides me that I knew of, and so I was just really letting go. And all of a sudden, I pulled my car over to the side of the road, and I said to myself, okay, am I going to live the rest of my life like this? It was ugly. It really wasn't nice at all. And, or what else? And a quote came down to me. This is the day the Lord has made. let us rejoice and be glad in it. And I saw my name, Be Glad, and I thought, okay, I have a choice. I can be glad or not. And if I'm going to be glad, I went home and uh, next day, I changed my license plate to Be Glad, so that every day that I went out to my car, as long as I was in practice here in Phoenix, I would have to see that license plate that reminded me to be glad. And I also realized that the people in the car behind me and them, they were going to see that statement, be glad. So it was my message to other people as well as my
Mm.
message to myself. But I had a choice. And I'm telling you, it set me free.
Yeah, there's a lot of work there, and it's so important. I mean, I
Oh,
feel like we all have to do it on some level or another, especially, I mean, I feel like you and I shared a very similar story in that, we were married to the people that we were in practice with, and there was betrayal and all the things, and I had to come to terms with that as well. And there was a point when I actually was able to thank him because, yeah,
oh yes, I was too. I wrote him a letter and I said, thank you for
right.
giving me my freedom. And it allowed me to catch my own voice and
Mm,
respect that, and not depend on his
right,
affirmation.
right. Yeah, but it's painful work. But so,
Boy, it's
yeah,
hard work. Uh, Yeah, it's hard work. But it really, really comes down to a choice. What it is that we're going to
right.
shine the light on in the dark places.
Yeah, yes. Well, there is another question that came in, and then I want to circle back to that conversation about dying, because you and I were talking about that before we started. But somebody asked the question, which I know how you're going to answer, can dreams be prophetic?
Oh, dreams can often be prophetic. I mean, it's not just that the Bible talks about them, but it's all the religious, uh, well, no, not all, but so many of the religious concepts include the aspect of dreams and how they bring messages to us, which uh, are difficult to get to. Well, let me back up. It's a way of passing the veil from one dimension
Mm.
into another that is available to us if we choose. And if we choose to look for our dreams and ask our dreams to help us, boy, they've been really helpful to me.
Yeah, I love that. I often will now ask the questions before I go to bed, like you have suggested, in hopes that I do get prophetic dreams or I get answers. And it doesn't always happen, but sometimes I'll have a dream that that really feels like it was exactly what I needed. Um, Linda Okay, Linda is saying, very painful, very hard. You want to give in, but you cannot. My husband left me with 4 young children. I did not want to go on, but I did it. So very proud of myself now. As you say, it's very hard. Yes. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
job.
And, sometimes uh, your dream allows you to get messages from the other side. I mean, that's been happening for me. And that is awesome
Well,
because they can be so real that it's not just a dream, it's an actual experience of holding my
Mm,
husband's hand as we walked up Lafayette
wow.
Boulevard. And, it was so real that I woke up knowing that we had spent that time like we used to when we were a couple and living down there. So it's a dreams are ways of reconnecting our conscious and our
Mm.
unconscious being, and it can be very, very helpful.
Wow. Well, I think that's part of last night I was up at 3 in the morning. And never went back to sleep, but I wasn't stressful. I was just sort of like you have said, you go down memory lane. And so my
Right.
ex-husband's mother is in the process of transitioning. She's in hospice care at her home, and it's she's amazing. And so I kept wanting to connect with her because I feel like she is right on it. Like that veil is so thin for her right now. And she's probably going back and forth a little bit, and connecting with the people. And yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And as I was sharing with you, my
Yes.
my oldest son, who has lost, I want to say, at least 10 friends in the last 10 years to drug overdoses, um, has never really had the proper chance to process all of that, and talk about no closure. There is just no closure. And so he spent 2 days so far with his grandma and sitting next to her and holding her hand and crying and telling her, like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know what to do with the fact that you're dying. And she is so beautiful, and just telling him, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Like, you will get through this. I have had and she's just reaffirming this beautiful life that she has had, and just allowing him, just sitting with him while he is grieving. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
It's so
Yes.
tender. It's so tender.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so they've had 2 full days to be there by themselves and go through old pictures that he found. And her memory is amazing, so she's telling him who everybody is in the pictures. But it's just so beautiful to be at a place in your life like that, where you're ready to go and you're at peace with it. And the thing I was telling you also is that she's super connected spiritually, and she's had just huge faith her whole life. And she has a statue of Mother Mary that's right out in her garden. And Tyler looked out in the morning after he spent the night there, and it was literally glowing. And he took a picture of it and sent it to me, and you can see an aura around Mother Mary. And I've shown people the picture, and they were there. Everyone is like, wow, you can really see the glow. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing when you start looking for these uh,
Mm,
experiences,
yeah.
they show up, you know, they really
Yeah.
do.
Um,
I I had a nice experience with it. My sister, she was 98 and she'd been healthy, but she got the flu and then just never got over it. And her younger son and his wife were at her bedside, and she was in the process of making the transition. And all of a sudden, in this uh, in between stage, she began singing. She began singing Hindustani bhajans and hymns. And every so often she would stop and she'd look over at them and say, and Aya is here. And then she would go on back into the experience and be in the process of leaving. And the thing that is so exciting for me is that when they heard that and they told me that story, it brought back all the memories of when we were children, and our ayah taught us to play the drum, the Hindustani drum, two-handed. Well, I didn't learn it very well, but Margaret did. And so Margaret, in my mind, as she made the transition from in the presence of her son and his wife in the company of
Hmm.
our ayah, moved on into the place of whatever it is, glory or heaven or what, but whatever it was for her. And in my mind, she was singing, and she and Aya were playing the drum and singing as they went into whatever that her dimension
Right.
is. And it's experiences like that, which when you spend time with people who are in contact with that inner aspect of themselves and with your aspect of it, these things happen. And it's I have story after story. My dad uh, remarried Mother Daniels after my mother had been dead for a long time, and he remarried Mother Daniels, and he got sick and was coming here to Phoenix. We met him at the airport and put him right into the hospital because he was so fragile. And we were there. My my the lady that he married was there with him and with uh, my sister. No, with my somebody who remembers. Anyway, they were standing at my dad's side, and she started the lady that my dad married started singing "God Be With You Till We Meet Again," and his voice met with hers, and they sang that until he stopped
Wow.
singing. And when his voice stopped and she moved out of the room on her way home, she said to my sister-in-law who was with her, "Don't you know there's a jubilation on the other side?" And when I heard that, I thought, yes, I'm sure my mother's standing on what the other side is and saying, "All right, John, now it's time to come over." We can conjure up these lovely pictures of of these people who we love, and we know how they're
Hmm.
going to react because we've spent time with them and loving time in a way that allows us to continue with the process of the reality
Hmm.
that life goes on.
Wow. Yeah. That's great. Somebody also commented, my grandma just died with the age of 101. I had that last conversation with her. She was ready, and that makes me ready too. Greetings from Germany to both of you.
Great.
And
Yes.
someone
Yes.
else is
It's 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 accepting the reality of the dimensions of life.
um,
Yeah, and go ahead, Katie.
someone saying, I lost my dear mom in July last year, and I sat with her 24 hours and we talked about everything. And she said, Mags, that's her name, I know what's happening, and I've had an amazing life with my 3 children and grandchildren. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Really, to spend that time. Uh, uh, my oldest daughter died when she was 58, and her nieces and nephews were surrounding her. We knew she was making the transition. So her nieces and nephews were on the bed with her, loving her and hugging her and letting her know uh, what they were feeling. And then her son was able to make it here in time before she died. And she looked up and saw, and her face glowed as she said, "Oh, my son." And it was shortly after that she made the
Wow.
transition. But, it was an experience that the young ones had to allowing her to go on. I think it's a nice thing for the little people, the young ones, to have time with us old ones, because, yeah, we've experienced things that they um, can experience one way or another, but it's good to share it.
Well, and I think it's also just so powerful to be shown the process of death in a really
Oh,
positive and loving way.
right. And not be afraid of it,
Right.
not walk, not walk towards it, but not be afraid of it, because it truly is, I think, like going into a dream, because we pass through and we move into this other realm where we can experience things, and it's a privilege that we have as human beings to experience that.
Somebody's saying love, like Ram Dass said, dying is perfectly safe. Yeah.
Right,
I think
right,
it's just so
right.
hard though when it's tragic or when it's traumatic
Oh,
or
yes.
like
Yeah.
I mean
Well, like with an accident or something, like our president who lost his family, his whole family, when he was,
mm,
when they were young, and it. But so when you know people who have experienced something and handled it in a way that has allowed them to grow into the people that they are, and they're sharing it with us. So it's allowing us to actually talk about these things.
yeah, it's so powerful. Yeah, I mean, so I feel like right now it's this really interesting time. It's like the veil is thin. She's in a beautiful state. It's kind of, and it's so similar to a birth process, right? That,
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Well, it is, it's birth into, in fact, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and I used to talk about this from the podium. She talked about the moving into the next dimension, and I was talking about moving into
Mm.
this dimension. So it's that transition from being a reality, or a manifestation in that dimension, and having it transcend that um, curtain and move through it to this one. No matter, no, no, let me say, it's recognizing that that's what's happening. We're moving from one dimension to the next. And when we recognize that, our soul understands it.
So going back to the first question, this person is saying, after losing my parent and finding out most things I thought were true and real were indeed not. It colors everything now.
Yes, of course it does. But how is it going to color
Right.
it? Is it going to color it with pain and suffering, or with, okay, that's what it was bad, or I had trouble with it, but I can let that go, or I can hang on to it. It's our choice. It's what we choose to live with as we go on. And um, it's, and everybody, we all have our own choices. And it's a moment of choice that we can continue that process, whichever choice it is that we
Mm.
decide to make. It's like my mother, when my mother and dad had been married for
Wow.
70 years, and then she fell and broke her knee and her ribs, and we took her into, my dad and I are moving her from the gurney onto the x-ray table, and she looks up and sees the pain in our faces, and she says, the old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be, because that's her way of dealing with things, was with her sense of humor. And the next day, and my dad stayed with her that whole night, in the hospital. And the next day, she said to him, John, go get your lunch, because he was sitting there with, and so he went to get his lunch. And when he left, she died, because their connection was so, and he was hanging
Oh.
on to her so, uh, with so much love, and that was so strong, she couldn't leave. So she said, go get your lunch. He went down and got his lunch, and when he came back, she was gone. And it took
Mm.
him a long, long time to really feel that he had done the wrong thing by going. But I kept saying to him, Dad, she
Right.
couldn't go when you were still there. So it's that these experiences are so real that uh, it's it's a good thing to talk about it and to experience it in a way that you can understand it. Something that
Hmm.
makes sense to you.
Do you think, like in the situation that this person is dealing with, um, and from your own experience, that do you think part of it you have to go through the period of being angry, being upset, feeling the feeling of being betrayed, having been lied to before you can release that? Like, do you feel like that's part of the healing, or can you just move? I mean, if we were all Christ consciousness, Buddha consciousness, we could let it go in an instant, but we're not. So,
No, and maybe it's I think it's uh, probably a good thing when we can recognize this and actually consciously let it go. But there are things that we don't let go. And a lot of times I think that those are what I'm calling um, withheld
mm,
tears. The, as a bad sinus infection, in my experience and the experience of patients and so on, sometimes can be withheld tears from experiences that you had not cried about, you had not identified, you had shoved down and said, well, I'm not going to deal with that. And these are experiences that you don't just get over, you
mm,
live through them. And if you're going to live through them, you'll understand them. And know what it is that you're experiencing, but there are those that you don't understand. You don't know what's happened, and you've just had to get over them, and you've gotten over them, but your body is still hanging on. So sometimes, not always, I don't say that all sinus trouble is withheld tears. However, in my experience, there are times when I can recognize that this particular aspect of what's going through in my life is withheld tears.
Mm-hmm.
It's something to think about.
Mm-hmm. Somebody else is saying, I always try and stay cognizant of how transient life really is. Sometimes it helps my own well-being, but I still struggle a lot and let go of anxieties and trauma.
Yeah, good for you. You know you're
Yeah, it's
doing it.
hard.
Oh,
That person was saying that they've been meditating a lot and that's been helping. And somebody else just commented, me too. And I've done a lot of meditation around it. And I actually saw my mom in her new life in a meditation. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, okay. And we're going to change the subject 1 minute because somebody's asking, what can help to heal fractured bones?
See, one thing you better see an orthopedic surgeon or some have a bone setter fix your bone because it's not going to heal if it's not set properly. But
But once it's
you
set and
know,
once it's, or if there's a compression fracture or something and there's nothing you can physically do, is there like, does castor oil help heal?
well, there are many things that you can do, and if you if you spend time with whatever it is that you're, you see, this is a very difficult question to answer because there are so many aspects of that
Mm,
question. You know, however it is, it could be a fracture of a finger that is important and that you're dealing with that, but it could be your ribs or, and whatever. But uh, you do what is available as far as uh, medical
right.
consciousness and help is available. I think it's important to get what you could get, and then talk to your body, and allow it to give you some insight into what you can do, because what the neighbor down the street can do is
Mm,
different from what you can do. So it's find out from your dreams, from your paying attention to your body as to what you can do. Your body will
mm.
talk to you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Going back to sorry for that segue there, but going back to the conversation we were having, this person is saying, I sit and chat to all of them who have died, um, to all of them every night and then in the morning. And I'm sure my mom is saying, Mags, we are okay. I've got my best friend, she's got Baz with us now, my best friend. He is a joker. She misses them terribly, but now need to find her purpose again. I'm assuming it's a woman, but it could not be. But
Yeah,
anyway, yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
think that is the other piece of that. When we lose people, it can be so disorienting. It's like end up
yeah,
feeling groundless. And
yeah,
you're right, like finding that purpose or just finding your bearings again in a life without a person that was part of your compass, part of
right, right,
your
right,
daily matrix, if you will. And so that
right.
that does become very, hard.
Well, it not only hard, but it's very tender too,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because if you're feeling what you're missing, that's it's
Mm,
love. And it's the love that you're reaching for. And uh, that love can still be there, because it's the memory of the love that you are. That's why I call it memory lane. You know, the people who have been in my life and uh, through the years, and to spend an part of a night with them again is just whoa. It's a lot of fun spending it with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, I'm telling you. We used to enjoy each other's company. So, but there are friends and relatives and all of that that have been part of our lives, and the nobody can take those
mm.
memories from us.
Yeah, that's great. Someone saying, I have been reading lots of the word seeking God and reading as many books on trauma and a dysregulated nervous system.
Ah, okay.
Okay. And
Yeah, there's information available when you start looking.
yes. And it's funny that so we're bouncing back and forth here, but somebody's asking, and what can a fracture in the arm mean? The fracture has been set in a cast.
Well, it depends on what you're
Mm,
doing. It puts another way in which you then have to do the work or whatever it is that you were doing with that arm. And so you learn new things.
right. Do you think that Louise Hay's book, you,
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
so you can
Yeah.
heal your life? That's a great book to get and look at. And she's listed all the things, all the body parts, all the ailments, and has an affirmation about that and what possibly that could mean. So, yeah.
It helps a lot. Yeah.
Somebody by the name of Manoir Fitness Gym is saying, love from India, Mother Gladys. So
Ah,
I don't know.
बहुत बहुत मेहरबानी.
What is that?
Thank you
Ah,
very much.
someone is saying, lean to breathe, learn to breathe through it. I found that has been tremendously helpful, delicate,
Right,
powerful. Yeah, breathing. Good.
right,
Um,
right.
let's
Oh, aren't we wonderful?
Well, it's, that is the beauty of community, right? Is that we all have things to add in and things you wouldn't have thought of and things that work for someone and not for another. Like that's so amazing.
Yeah, Katie, and thank you for starting this 4 years ago. Because we've created a community, and we're we actually are spreading love and understanding all around the world by doing the work that you
Mhm.
started.
Well,
Thank you.
you are an inspiration, and I am so grateful to you, and I love that you always mention that, and that's beautiful. Somebody is saying love from Serbia. Yes.
Oh,
Um, somebody else is saying laughter meditation helped me in the middle of a panic attack. I couldn't. It doesn't happen like that.
absolutely.
That's great.
Well, Katie, I think that you and I are dancing together right as we do this because it's such a joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Linda from the UK, who has been on with us since the very beginning, is saying, have you heard about our King Charles? It's sad. I
Yes,
I haven't.
I- yes. Uh, well, he's going to receive therapy, and his people are going to be praying for him, and so am I.
What's the
And
matter?
it's yes, but William is going to step up. We haven't heard from William before much, but the younger son is going to step
But
up to
what's
help his brother.
happening with King Charles?
He has been diagnosed with uh, a cancer.
Mm, mm. Oh, and you know what? That's the other thing that's so beautiful, going back to the very beginning of this conversation with my this my mother-in-law that is transitioning.
Yeah,
She was in the hospital because she had stomach pains on her 95th birthday. And they finally concluded that she had a mass in her liver. And they wanted to do further testing. And she said, no, we're good. We don't need to do any further testing. We don't need to know exactly what it is. They're pretty sure it's cancer. But it was just so beautiful because she just said, no, we're not testing because I'm not going to
yeah,
do anything about it. And
yeah,
and so
yeah.
when I was chatting with her, she said, I think 5 years ago they told me that I had some things, some tumors in my liver. And as far as I remember, they gave me some pills that were just melting them away. And so I just figured they were melting away. And it was just so great because who knows what they gave her. And that's, but that is what in her mind she saw happening. And the last
Yeah,
5 years of her life were great. I mean, and had she gone down another path and chosen to do all the chemos and all the radiations and all the things, her quality of life probably would not have been the way that it was. So
yeah. You have no
yeah, yeah,
idea.
so good. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Somebody says, you ladies having a good week? I cherish these conversations.
Oh, how
Um,
sweet. How
Love
sweet.
from Canada. Miss my mom every day and appreciate your wisdom. And,
Absolutely.
and somebody had prostate cancer. Oh, maybe that was the King.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, King
Okay.
Charles.
Um,
But it's not prostate
what?
cancer.
It's,
It's not
Oh, okay.
prostate cancer.
Uh,
it's something like
okay.
that.
I'm
So,
just seeing, let's see. Greetings from Switzerland. Greetings and lots of love from Switzerland. God bless.
wow, what a beautiful
Yes, it.
country that is. I remember I remember a train ride through Switzerland when
Wow.
I was 10 years old. And the Swiss mountains reminded me of the Himalayas. And I was so
Oh,
happy to see that.
well, that's beautiful. Love that. All right. Well, do you have any? You were talking to Australia last night. Do you have?
Oh, isn't that
Yeah.
wonderful? I mean, this wonderful group of people in Australia. And, we have a community
That's.
there now who is listening, and all of that is just great.
So we also have the woman that was speaking is a British woman. She's living in Spain, and somebody is sending love from the Czech Republic. Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
I
I'm in
I
awe.
know. I love that. It's so good. Yeah. Someone's from Australia. Um. So anyway, it's great. Yeah. Here's
Well,
our global
it's
community.
we're spreading love and
Mm,
understanding in ways that we can accept because it feels
hmm
okay to do this. Nobody's forcing us to do it. Nobody's forcing us to listen to what's being said. It's what we want
Right.
to do. And it's the light that we're looking for. And as we look for it, we share it with others. So I'm just so happy with this. Let's dance a
Okay.
jig.
Well, I am going to go dance my way into my afternoon and see some more patients.
All
And
right.
Slovenia is also sending love, just thrown.
Oh,
So you have a fantastic rest of your week, and
thank
we will
you.
be
Thank you.
back next. Yeah.
See you next week.
All right. Love you.
All right. Love
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Love
Yes.
you all.
Yes. Yes. John, thank you again for always getting her on.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Bye.
Bye.